Do you remember Pascal's Wager? If you grew up Christian or you studied theology while you were studying philosophy, you might be familiar with this argument to believe in God by this guy named Blaise Pascal. Pascal's Wager, more or less, is the claim that it is better to believe in God just based on what the stakes are. Reasonable people can disagree about whether or not God exists. There's uncertainty in the question of the existence of God. And part of what Pascal's Wager is about is, what do we do in the case of uncertain decisions? One of the things that we can do is Batman versus Superman, to imagine the stakes. Maybe you think that's ridiculous. Perhaps you remember in Batman vs. Superman, Bruce Wayne is like, if Superman has the power to destroy all of us, and if it is even a 1% likelihood, we must treat it as an absolute certainty. And he stares into the middle distance in Batfleck. It's not necessarily an illogical way to think, at least according to Blaise Pascal. The religious version of the argument is that, believing in God or not, the stakes are either you die and nothing happens, or you die and there's either eternal damnation or eternal happiness. Eternal damnation and eternal happiness are massive, massive stakes. Pascal says it's better to believe in God than not to, just by doing a pros and cons list. Now, setting aside whether or not this is true, whether or not it matters, I would like to apply it to the present day with the question of, you probably guessed it, climate change. Now, to be clear, it is not actually an uncertainty. We're in fact witnessing wildfires and rising water in Florida, and we're witnessing the effects of climate change. You probably guessed it. Assuming there's uncertainty, we should just look at the stakes. If Republicans are right and climate change is not real, what happens? Not really much. Some people who want to sell oil sell a little bit more oil. And some people who want to get jobs by making solar panels don't get those jobs. It's not really that big of a deal. But if the people who think that climate change is real, which it is, are right, and we do nothing, the world as we know it ends. And maybe you think that it is an exaggeration for me to say that the end of the world as we know it is going to happen. But if you think that the refugee crisis is a big deal now, imagine what is going to happen when food systems start to break down, economies start to break down, the effects of climate change hit more and more and more communities. Climate-based migration is going to skyrocket. Just one issue, ecosystems will be hurt. There's cascading effects, massive effects. If it's even a 1% chance, we should treat it as an absolute certainty. The stakes are too high for us to pretend that there is uncertainty, and even if there was uncertainty, the stakes being as high as they are should give us caution in the way that we choose to proceed.